after a remarkably busy week. I did have an opportunity to speak with President Trump by phone. He did praise your response to the floods in Texas. There are obviously a lot of questions, though, so I want to talk to you about some of those, including about a rule that you recently implemented. It reportedly requires that every FEMA contract, every grant over $100,000 be personally approved by you. Now, officials within the agency have told multiple news outlets that the policy led to a slower deployment of some FEMA resources, including urban search and rescue crews. So let me just ask you, did your policy delay some of the critical response resources on the ground in Texas?
You know, those claims are absolutely false. Within just an hour or two after the flooding, we had resources from the Department of Homeland Security there helping those individuals in Texas. It was a heartbreaking scene, and I think it's been well covered about what the Coast Guard did, how they were deployed immediately and helped rescue so many individuals from those floodwaters. And we had Border Patrol down there with their tactical teams, and FEMA was there just within a few hours as well. So those claims are false. They're from people who won't put their name behind those claims. And those call centers were fully staffed and responsive. And this was the fastest, I believe, in years, maybe decades, that FEMA has been deployed to help individuals in this type of a situation.
Well, let's drill down a little bit. I know there were resources that were deployed, but I think the question revolves around, were all of the necessary resources deployed? According to reports, multiple FEMA officials said you didn't approve the deployment of these FEMA search and rescue teams until Monday, which was 72 hours after the flood started.
Nope, they were deployed immediately as soon as they were requested. And I think what matters the most here is what the local officials on the ground say and what their feedback is. You know, I was there that very morning, and that afternoon when the flooding was happening, and was with those emergency responders right away, with the governor, with Noem, who's running the state's response. And every one of them will tell you that they got everything that they needed when they asked for it immediately, and that they've never seen a federal government respond in support of a state's management of a disaster situation like this. So those claims, I don't know who's making them out of FEMA. And because FEMA has been incredibly responsive, we've had over 700 different employees engaged right in Texas, and as soon as that disaster request was put in, forwarded to the White House and approved within hours.
Well, when was the request put in, and when did you approve it? And is this accurate that there's this $100,000 sign-off? The $100,000 sign-off is for every contract that goes through the Department of Homeland Security. So you did implement that policy.
It's an accountability on contracts that go forward, but there was no break in contracts. Those contracts were approved as soon as they were in front of me, and FEMA knew they were fully to deploy the instant that the local officials asked for the request.
When did you get the request for these search and rescue teams and other resources?
They were immediately responded.
What day?
And everyone will tell you.
According to reports, they didn't arrive until
the governor will say, well, this is what I think is really unfortunate, is that we have a situation where so many individuals are playing politics with what happened to Texas. And the governor and the emergency responders on the ground, the mayor of that city, the judge in that county who has some authority over emergency response, every one of them said, as soon as we asked for help, they were here. The federal government was here. And we didn't just deploy FEMA. We deployed our Coast Guard and BORTAC teams. Border Patrol was amazing. Every single agency that we had was there helping as many individuals as we possibly could. And that's what I think is remarkable. It's a very different response, I think, from the federal government we've ever seen.